Hello and welcome to another edition of Blitz Extra here on GoSanAngelo.com. I am Quentin Martinez, the Lakeview beat writer. I'm sitting next to Paul Harris, the assistant sports editor. He handles Central for us, and our area man, Mike Whitson. He has everything on lockdown here around West Texas. Let's quickly look back at last week, an eventful week out at San Angelo Stadium. Surprised the game probably just barely ended, it seems like. I mean, you were out there for a long time, Paul.
Yeah, that was one of the most ridiculous games I've ever seen. Central beat El Paso Franklin 41-35, 5 overtimes, longest game in Bobcats history. And you know, those two teams have played just 3 great games. All of them went down to the wire, but none of them like the one on Friday night. And you know, the funny thing is, it didn't look like it was ever headed to overtime. Central's down 14-0 at halftime, 21-7 in the fourth quarter. They had to storm back, score twice in the final 7 minutes just to tie the game, and then they had to survive a 29-yard field goal try as you know, at the buzzer basically by Franklin just to get to overtime. Then of course the game just getting started there. Both teams had chances to win with field goals in the first 2 overtimes. They couldn't score. Both teams score in the 3rd and 4th overtimes. They get the 2-point conversion, and the 4th one just keeps on going. And finally in the 5th and final overtime, Darius Long gets his 3rd touchdown catch of the game, put Central on top, and then the defense is able to stop Franklin, hold on for the win. And you know, the Bobcats, the coaches, their fans, they're celebrating like they won a playoff game afterward. Just a crazy game.
Unbelievable. 5 overtimes. I know a lot of us, so when we saw that score coming down on Friday night, it was pretty impressive. When you look at Lakeview, they hit the road to take on Fort Stockton, a game that I know the coaches and players thought was a very winnable game. They went out there and you know, kind of a similar start. A lot of people thought it was going to be a low-scoring game, and that's exactly how it played out. It took them a while to kind of get things going offensively. Alan Moreno came out as a starting quarterback. Barney Keel, who was nursing an injury last week, didn't get a lot of reps in practice, so the junior went out there. He started. Barney Keel had a couple of snaps, but it kind of took the offense out of rhythm, and when Alan Moreno was in there full-time, they did much better. They scored their first touchdown of the year on a 37-yard bomb to Jesse Garcia, who kind of adjusted in midair and out-jumped 2 defenders for the ball and then crossed the goal line. So pretty spectacular play. They actually passed for 119 yards last week in the loss and only ran for in the neighborhood of 80 yards rushing. So kind of a balanced effort, but I know they want to run the ball more effectively. One of the biggest disappointments of last week is that they came away inside the red zone. They were inside the 10-yard line twice and came away with no points. They're playing with a backup kicker, and that might have had something to do with it, but they actually had an opportunity. They had 4th and goal from the 2-yard line, went for a field goal late in the 3rd quarter, and that actually, when that went astray, that gave Fort Stockton some momentum. They drove down the field and basically put away the game with an 80-yard touchdown drive to go ahead 14-6. So the Lakeview Chiefs still looking for their first win of the season under Doug Kuhlman, who's in his first year. Kick things over to Mike, who, as is always the case, always some spectacular games in the region.
Right. Sterling City dropped Garden City 68-56 in the Standard Times Game of the Week Friday night. It was the first time in 14 years that Sterling City got past Garden City. Cooper Hinderleiter rushed for 235 yards and 5 touchdowns in that game. And Sterling City improves to 2-0 on the year, and the Mighty Bearcats are shockingly 0-2. Another surprise, Water Valley, off to an amazing start under the new head coach, Kerry Owens. In 2 games so far this year, Water Valley's put up 134 points, and that's just playing 4 quarters. Both their first games ended at halftime due to the 45-point mercy rule. And that'll set up a big showdown that we'll get to a little bit later. But in Class 1A, Mason defeated 2A rival Junction 54-12 in a game that saw the first action of David Moore this year. Moore rushed for 125 yards and a couple scores in that game. Mason's district foe, Goldthwaite, they kind of came out on the short end of a battle with San Saba. First time in 7 years, San Saba's actually won the Battle of the River and beat Goldthwaite. And Erie County continued their surprising start, off to 2-0 this year. They topped El Dorado 13-7 last week, so the Hornets might be a team we might need to keep our eye on this year.
It's great to see David Moore back in the lineup, our All-West Texas MVP last year, as well as the cover boy of our football tab this year. So it's good to see him back on the gridiron. Talking about this week now, moving forward to this Friday night, and in some cases Thursday, Lakeview will host Caprock. They're back at San Angelo Stadium this week. That's a matchup that was actually set up by former head coach Sterling Gilbert. He and Caprock head coach Seth Parr are pretty good friends. They're both young coaches, and he set up this matchup. They're playing for the 4th consecutive year. And Caprock, very, very powerful offense. Caprock scored 98 points in their first 2 games of the year. They beat Borger last week, I believe 63-49 in a ridiculous 6-man type score you'd imagine, but no, that was 11-man football. But very high scoring. They throw the ball 80% of the time, so it's going to be aired out. They run a spread offense. They can still be really effective rushing the ball, so a lot of stuff to look forward to look at if you're Ernie Reynolds in the Lakeview defense this week, knowing that you're going to have your hands full with a very tough offense, very high potent offense. But they're emphasizing this week wrapping up, making tackles in space. Caprock is all about getting their athletes out in space, making a man miss, and then taking off. And if they feel that they can wrap up and be sound defensively, that they can keep them low scoring. And especially, this is the week that Doug Kuhlman really stresses that his offense gets things going, is able to hold on to the ball, put together 80-yard drives. They're going to milk 6 minutes off the clock, because the longer Caprock is on the sideline waiting, the more frustrated that offense is going to be. That's what they think are going to be the keys to try to get their first win Friday night against Caprock. Central, after their 2-0 start, has maybe their biggest test of the year so far.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to Abilene Shotwell Stadium, take on Abilene Cooper. Cooper is 0-2, but certainly you got to think they're still the favorite in this game. They beat Central 55-21 last year, and they returned star quarterback Clayton Nicholas, who's committed to Texas Tech. Again, even though Cooper's 0-2, not too bad losses. They lost 36-35 to Wichita Falls Rider to start the year, a good 4A team, and they're up 28-0 in that game before Nicholas got banged up and was left as a precautionary measure. And then last week, losing to Austin Westlake 47-33. Again, Westlake, traditionally one of the better teams in the state, so certainly a deceptive 0-2 record there. And this will be a good test for Central to see just how far they've really come when they travel to Abilene on Friday.
Now, obviously, there's some more great games, as there always are every week, and our game of the week could be a very interesting one between 2 of the better 2A teams in the region.
That's right. Game of the week is Wall at San Saba. Both teams off to 2-0 starts on the year. Wall picked up their 3rd win in 2 seasons over Merkel last week, holding the Badgers stud running back Frankie Harris to just 70 yards on 18 carries, while the Hogs were able to roll up 331 yards on the ground. And San Saba coming off the big win over state-ranked Goldthwaite. Should be a really good battle of the should be a really good game of the week. And like we hinted to earlier, number 2 ranked Division II Sterling City traveling to Water Valley. Cooper Hinderleiter and Hunter Hughes have combined for 17 touchdowns on the season, and Water Valley, they're just loaded with weapons. Week 0, Cade Latham scored 3 times. Last week, Sterling Marshall and Jude Tamplin each scored 3 touchdowns. So this could be a really high-scoring game. It could be decided by the first team to get to 100 points.
100 points might not be too far out there. 2 very high-powered offenses. Another 2A game, very interesting for Friday night, Paul.
Yeah, I think Ballinger at Sonora could be a great game. Ballinger's 0-2, Sonora's 2-0, but Ballinger's got 2 quality losses, losing to San Saba, and they were edged on a late field goal to Colorado City last week. And Sonora's looked impressive in their wins over Brady and Forsan. So, despite the records, I think it could be a really good matchup. And then another game, in the 1A ranks, I'd like to see is Forsan at Erie County. Just see, if the Hornets can keep up that great start to the season.
Actually, Mike called that during the offseason. He really expected the Erie County to be pretty big this year, and they've come out and backed up his prognostication from the summer. So Mike Whitson had that one pretty good, and we'll see exactly how far the Hornets can take it. The tough test this week, but it should be interesting to see. Of course, don't forget, you can always catch us on GoSanAngelo.com. We have our Blitz page there. They have all the stats. They have maps to the game, tons of stuff there. More information you could possibly ever want on high school football on GoSanAngelo.com. Look for our Blitz page on there. Of course, you can also find us on Facebook. We have Blitz West Texas Football. You can follow us on Twitter, which is Blitz WTFB. There are so many different ways that here at the Standard Times we get you all your high school football stuff. And something we're starting this year as well, we have our Beat the General contest that starts this week. You're picking NFL games against General Rains, who I hear is pretty good, actually. You can win this t-shirt right here. Has a nice picture of the General right here. It says it's a Blitz t-shirt. So that's up for grabs every week, as well as gift cards to various businesses here in the community. So plenty of reasons to get out to GoSanAngelo.com and follow us here all high school football season long. We'll see you next week for another edition of the Blitz Extra.
Come on.